Hello and welcome to Faithfully Stampin' with Jennifer Helm. I am Jennifer Helm, the Faithful Stamper, an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! Today I have for you something different. I typically show cards on this channel as I am majorly a card maker, but I like making 3D projects from time to time, and with it coming up on the holidays, I thought this would be a perfect time to showcase a very sweet and extremely simple gift bag made of designer series paper, or DSP as we call it in Stampin' Up! Land. So this is a sneak peek at some new paper that's coming in January in our celebration offering, but I created a little bag that would be perfect for a baby shower gift or a favor for a little boy's shower. And I'll show you some more samples at the end of the video about how you can use this for any occasion. So to start with, all you need are 2 pieces of designer series paper. You need to like both sides because we're going to fold down the top of the paper and create a little lip for the bag. So I also recommend, at least when you start, an all-over print, nothing with direction, because it's a little harder. You have to think a little bit harder when you fold over that flap to make sure your paper's going in the right direction. And so if you choose an all-over print, then you don't have to worry about that at all. So you need those 2 pieces of 6x6 paper, and then all you need is a paper trimmer scorer or a scoreboard, some kind of scoring tool. So I use the measurements to the right of my cutting track. I just find it easier. That way I've got a lot of paper here to put my hand on and hold in place. So I'm going to line this up at 3/4 of an inch. And I'm going to be very careful not to press too hard when I score. I have a bad habit, if I'm scoring with paper, of wanting to press down and go to town because I'm used to doing that with cardstock because I want a good crease. With the paper, you want to be more gentle or else you'll tear it. And I always give that warning because I wish somebody would warn me every time that I do that. So 3/4 of an inch, and I just go lightly up and down twice. And then I'm going to rotate, and it doesn't really matter which way you rotate because you're going to do all 3 of the other sides. These are all going to be at 1 inch though. So the first one, which will be the top of the bag, was 3/4 of an inch. And then the others will all be at 1 inch. Okay, so there's one. And now I'm going to do the same thing quickly here on the other page. So again, 3/4 of an inch, and then 1 inch. And then that is all the scoring that you need to do. As I said, pretty simple, nothing too complicated today. All right, and I got all 4 sides of that one. So now my paper trimmer scorer can go away. Now I rotate both my sheets back so that the 3/4 of an inch is at the top. So that narrow area that's scored is at the top. That's going to be the top of the bag, and the first thing I'm going to do is fold over the paper so I can see where I'm creating that little lip on the bag. Some people might go ahead and fold on all their score lines. If you want to do that now, that's fine. I'm honestly going to say that I go ahead and start creating my bag now because otherwise I'm liable to glue the wrong flap down. I'd rather get it out of the way first. So you can use liquid glue for your bag. You just have to let it sit a little bit longer. You can also use tear and tape, but you want to avoid tape runners for this because it won't have a strong enough hold. You need something with a lot of hold to keep this bag together. So if you're using glue, I would recommend putting glue sort of all over on the flap. Not too much, but you need to have an all over feel. But also you want to run a really thin bead of glue down the whole length of this top so that the lip of your bag doesn't want to pull away. This is one reason I find the tear and tape to be more favorable because I need 1 line of tear and tape and then I'm done. So I give that a little press. And then just peel the backing right off and fold it down, and again, give it another good press. You're just going to do that with both sheets of designer series paper. And now what we're going to do is fold on the rest of those score lines. You can use your fingers or you can use a bone folder. I've done both. I didn't feel like it made a significant difference using the bone folder, but it's completely up to you what you like to do with your projects. Okay, so once you've folded on all your score lines, make sure you can see that top lip of your bag. Flip it over, and it's a little hard to see on my print paper, but you've got two little squares here in between your score lines. What you're going to do is cut from the bottom of the score line up to the horizontal score line. Just like that to create this little flap. Then you're going to repeat on the other side. And then leave this middle flap alone, but if you like, you can just bevel the edge on the inside of that little flap. And this way, you'll have a little bit less when you're folding the corners of the bag together. But there's a little trick in leaving this large rectangle panel square, and I'll show you that in a minute. And then you're gonna do the same thing on your second piece. So again, cut on the score line, just up to the horizontal score line, and then bevel that edge ever so slightly. Okay, now we're ready to start assembling the bag. I like to do this in 2 halves. I tried it that way, and I also tried it by gluing these 2 panels together and creating the bag. But I'll tell you what I found with that is that the bag didn't have a front and a back. I had a seam on the front and a seam on the back. So it looked fine, but it didn't give me a really polished look. And so by creating the bag in 2 halves, you get a polished look on 1 half. So you can do it however you like, but just a little word to the wise and something I found out while I was experimenting. So back to the tear and tape. The first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna flip it over so my outside is showing. I'm gonna put some tear and tape here on the small flaps. Again, if you're using liquid glue, that's fine. You'll just need to hold it a little extra to get it to set. And you can put as much tear and tape on here as you like. I have found though that a little diagonal piece really is all I need. So that's what I do. And let's see, my fingernails are failing me tonight. There we go. So what you're gonna do, and where I find that this large rectangle with the straight edges comes in handy, is you're gonna start assembling the box. So you're going to fold in the side with the little flap, and you're going to line up this straight edge where your score line is with the straight edge on your rectangle. And if you were to bevel that like we did on that inside flap, you wouldn't have those nice straight edges. So that's why I suggested leaving that alone. I'm all about doing things the simple way so that I don't have to think so hard. So there we go. I've almost created a little tray. And we're going to do the same on the other side of the box. So I'm going to start with my 2 little panels again, and then I'll show you a little trick, something you should check for. Okay. It's a little bit easier if you do 1 flap at a time, then you're not worried about it sticking other places. But up to you if you do both flaps at once or 1 at a time. Okay. There we go. Now, you would think that these would be identical since we did exactly the same thing with both 6x6 pieces of paper, but it's been my experience that when you go to put the box together, or the bag together, and all we're gonna do is slip one side into the other and tape it, for some reason, one side always wants to look better than the other. So for example, when I do it here, they're just slightly off, and there's a little bit more of a seam showing than I like. So let me see here, if I flip it around and put this one inside, yes, that looks much better. It lines up better, and I don't have any gap here it matches up perfectly. Again, I don't know why that is, but check and see which one you want to be on the outside of your box. So now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna put some tear and tape on the inside. And you can put it on the outside flap. It doesn't really matter. You just need tape in one of these areas. So I'm gonna take my tear and tape, and I'm gonna put it along the inside. You can put a double row if you want. You can use wider tear and tape if you have it. But this way, when I glue the box together, the seams where they meet are going to be glued the best, if that makes sense. So again, tear and tape on that side. And so this is going to be the inside of the box. And so on the other half, I'm going to put a strip of tear and tape here at the bottom to attach these two pieces together. Just like this. Give that a good press down. Now I'm going to peel that piece off. Now, I like to hold half the bag up in my hand. I've got that tear and tape ready to go on the bottom. I'm going to take my other half off. You'll notice I have not peeled the side strips off yet. And that way, if I make a mistake here, I don't have so much tape to wrestle with trying to pull it apart. So I'm going to fit the bag together at the top and kind of just slide it right on down in place. And I've got it nice and neat and together on the bottom. But I still have enough play here that I can come back to these side strips, peel them from the top, and then be able to press them together. Now remember, don't press too hard because you'll collapse your box and you might wrinkle something and not be too happy. But if you start from the top, you should have enough give in the box to pull the wrapper off the whole way, and again, line it up, press together. And then you can see I've got a nice front of the box with nice neat corners. And then I have a back, I keep calling it a box, it's a bag, but it's boxy. I guess that's why I keep calling it a box. Then you can see the back side where the pieces come together, and they look fine, but the front just has that polished look. Now a little tidbit, you can take a bone folder, stand your bag up, and give it a press on the bottom, and then hold it on the side and do the same thing. Just kind of rub your bone folder in there, and that'll kind of help give that tape a nice little reinforcement. And there we go. Now honestly, you could just decorate the front of this, fill it, and set it on a desk. You don't necessarily need handles. It's up to you and what you want to use it for. But we're going to add some handles. So you'll need a hole punch. Remember, the larger the hole punch, the more of a knot you'll need if you're putting on ribbon handles. You could also use cardstock handles. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't fool with that. I'm going with ribbon. I have plenty of ribbon that I need to get rid of. So, or use up, I should say, not get rid of. So I'm using a hole punch that's about 1/8 of an inch of a circle. And I eyeball this, but if you're particular, grab a ruler and a pencil and just mark 2 spots on each side where you're going to put your ribbon handles. I do them usually about halfway down the lip of the bag that we created, just like that. And then I'm going to flip the bag over and do the same thing on the back, and I can kind of visually use the holes that I just punched when I'm punching the top. And I honestly don't think anybody's going to get a ruler and measure and see if I was 100% accurate, but you never know. All right, so now I need some ribbon. I am using our double stitch ribbon in balmy blue and white. This is in our current holiday catalog. You can check that out at the website here. We have some items that are retiring, as that catalog is going to be retiring soon. If you want to check that out, you'll need about 11 inches. So I've got a little ruler here. I always forget to bring my big ruler over. So about 11 inches will do. Whoop. And then here's an important tidbit that you might find helpful. I find it much easier to cut 2 of the ribbon first and then fool with the handles, as opposed to what I did the first time I created the bag, which was I cut 1 piece of ribbon and I thought to myself, go ahead and cut the second. And I got so excited to tie the ribbon on the bag that I forgot, and then I had to kind of eyeball it. How long was that piece of ribbon? So if you cut it before you start fooling with the handles, that might save you a little bit of headache. So learn from my little mistake there. All right. So I'm going to kind of roll this ribbon. This is a little bit of a thicker ribbon, but thankfully it works. And let's see, this is the front of the bag. I noticed on some of my samples, I actually put the tags on the wrong side of the bag, and it's not the end of the world, but I wish I hadn't done that. So tie a knot at the end of your ribbon. All right. My fingers are failing me. There we go. Now you don't want it too close to the end of the ribbon, but you also want to make sure it's tight enough it's not going to pull through if you tug a little hard on the bag handles. Now, I used sheer ribbon on some of the other samples I'll show you, and I did double knot those just because it was a thinner ribbon and I didn't want that to pull through the hole punched sides. This being a thicker ribbon, I think I'm fine with a single knot. Okay, before I go any further, I want to create a sweet little tag to put on the bag. So I die cut a tag from our Tailored Tags die set. This is the second largest of the angular tags. You'll see the other design on some of the other bags. And I'm going to put a sentiment in Pacific Point. This is from the Elephant Parade stamp set and is perfect for a bridal. I keep saying bridal. It's a baby shower gift. So there's a sweet little one. And before I came on the video, I pre-stamped and colored and die cut this sweet little elephant from the Elephant Parade set. I figured you saw enough of me putting the bag together. You don't need to watch me color too. But you can decorate the tags however you like. You could stamp right on them. You can add die cuts. You could emboss them, all sorts of things. So there we go. Quick and easy little tag. I'm going to thread the tag on my ribbon and slide it all the way up to the bag. And then I'm going to continue on, put that ribbon in the other side and the other hole. Pull it through. I can pull it a little further out this time and then tie my knot in the end. I've got a little extra here, so I think I'm going to trim it off. I don't trim it off too close though. I'm always afraid I'm going to cut too much and it'll allow the ribbon to pull out of the handle. But there we go. There's one handle. So now we're just going to go ahead and repeat that on the other side. And the only thing different is I'm not going to add the tag. All right. So you can see once you get the hang of these bags, they do go together very simply. And they're great for all sorts of occasions. You could use them for party favors, shower favors, coworker gifts for their birthdays or any time of year if you do little Secret Santa gifts for the holidays. These would be perfect for that. All right, again, I'm going to trim a little bit of ribbon there. And hopefully, yep, I did pretty well with my handles there. So there is my sweet little gift bag, ready to be filled. Now, I was thinking earlier, it's perfect for a gift card. So you could have a gift card and a gift holder like from the store that you could write your message on, or have a little card that's the right size that would fit in here. You could also put some little chocolates or an ornament or anything you can fit in that little bag. I did not experiment with the sizes. However, I do know that you can make the same style of bag using a 12 by 12 sheet of paper. So it's the same method. You're just using it on a larger scale. And I would fold down at least 2 inches at the top, pardon me, for your fold over. Something I haven't tried yet, but just a thought for you. And I'll show you another size bag in just a minute. So there is our sweet little designer series paper gift bag. And I do have some more samples for you. First of all, I've got a birthday bag. This is using paper from the same pack of paper, but I switched stamp sets to our adorable owls. This is a sneak peek at a stamp set that will be available in January and February as part of our celebration promotion. If you're not familiar with that, be sure to check out my website and feel free to get in touch with any questions either here on the YouTube channel or find me over on Facebook at The Faithful Stamper, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. So there's a little birthday bag. Jumping back to the baby shower bag for just a moment, I actually made two. This one has pale papaya sheer ribbon at the top. This is the ribbon I said I double knotted. And again, I went with a die cut tag, or a fussy cut tag actually. But I also made the bag with fresh freesia ribbon to show that version as well. Slightly different coloring there. But these are so cute. Love them. And then I did mention another size. So you can use the same method, the same technique I just showed you, but instead of using the 3/4 of an inch and the 1 inch score lines, if you use 1 inch at the top and 1.5 inches on the other 3 sides, you will create a bag that's a little bit shorter, but it's wider. So here I'm trying to show you the different dimensions here. But same process otherwise. The only thing I did different here was rather than attach the tag to the ribbon handles, I glued my decoration right to the front of the bag. So I hope you enjoyed learning how to make our sweet little DSP gift bag. If you haven't already, I would love for you to subscribe to this YouTube channel. You can click the notification bell and be notified each time a video is posted here on the channel. Thank you so much for watching. Take care and happy crafting.